It's Monday, y'all, and we've got potential Tropical Cyclone 8 on our hands. It's kind of just popped up over the weekend. Didn't look like much last week. Still doesn't look like a whole bunch, but it looks like it is going to be something that's going to cause some problems today, tomorrow, and even a couple days from now in the south and east, especially in the Carolinas, where by the time this video goes up, we're probably going to be looking at some sort of landfall here from a tropical cyclone, maybe even tropical storm Helene. Now, this thing is moving incredibly slow, but it's actually gaining strength pretty quickly. This thing's got maximum sustained winds of around 50 miles per hour. We've got tropical storm warnings in effect from South Carolina all the way up through the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We do expect for this to briefly become a tropical storm right before making landfall just south and west of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So it's very likely that this will be tropical storm Helene later this afternoon or maybe this evening as it comes onto shore here in South Carolina. The winds with this are not going to be a huge problem, 50, 60 mile per hour winds. There might be a couple areas that see 70 mile per hour gusts. The storm surge is also not going to be that big of a deal. We're thinking 1 to 3 feet of water rise is going to be the worst of it in the hardest hit areas. The biggest problem with Helene is going to be the rain. Okay, so we do expect maybe 8 to 12 inches of rain in some isolated areas in extreme southern North Carolina, and then anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, even into southern parts of Virginia, where we start to get that effect where the Appalachian Mountains try to wring out all the moisture, we could see as much as 4 to 6 inches of rain. So flash flooding is going to be possible with Tropical Depression Helene as it slowly works its way over towards the Appalachian Mountains. And once again, this thing's not going anywhere anytime fast. It'll be 2 p.m. Wednesday before it's just past Charlotte, North Carolina. And this is why we have an excessive rainfall outlook from the Weather Prediction Center. Moderate down there where we expect to see the heaviest rain, a large slight risk that encompasses Charlotte and Raleigh, and then a marginal risk that'll probably be expanded to a slight risk at some point for portions of the Mid-Atlantic. But, we could see some heavy rain all the way up there towards New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. as well. And what's crazy to me about this storm is a lot of rain's coming, right? Most of the rain is going to fall in the exact area where we don't need it. Look, North Carolina, y'all are good. Everybody else is experiencing a drought. In fact, just on the other side of the Appalachian Mountains, where all of this moisture is going to be coming towards West Virginia and Ohio, but it's going to get kind of wrung out by the mountains on the other side, we're experiencing a pretty extensive drought, a pretty bad drought. So the rainfall could have been used there, but of course it's falling in an area where we don't necessarily need it. And of course, this tropical system is going to come with some severe weather as well. There is a very small chance that we see a couple tornadoes today, especially in southeastern portions of North Carolina. We've got a 5% risk. A little bit more of a widespread severe weather problem up in the north central U.S. in Minnesota and North Dakota with a pretty decent hail and wind threat up there. That's going to be for this evening. And then also some hail and winds going to be possible in places like Salt Lake City as another big system is going to be moving over the Rockies. And this is going to be pretty interesting because that's going to lead to more severe weather tomorrow on September 17th. The panhandle of Nebraska up there in northeastern portions of Colorado and of course eastern Montana, we could be looking at some big time hail and some wind as well. And then whatever's left of Helene is going to potentially bring some thunder to Virginia, Maryland, and that area, but it doesn't look like the severe weather threat's going to continue that much. But before we go any deeper into that, I'm getting thirsty, okay? And I know you are too. So let's hydrate ourselves and shout out today's sponsor. Liquid IV. Tear, pour, and live more. Let me tell you about my secret weapon for beating the summer heat. It's Liquid IV, the #1 powered hydration brand in America. I know it's different everywhere, but here in the South, whenever I go outside, whether I'm storm chasing or doing whatever it is that I'm doing, in these 90 to 100 degree temperatures, I sweat buckets. And that's why I never leave home without tossing at least a couple Liquid IV sticks in my go bag. And not only does it taste great, it's also got 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. It works from the moment you start sipping on it. You can literally feel yourself feeling better. It's awesome. My personal favorite flavor right now has got to be the golden cherry, but the sugar-free white peach is really starting to grow on me. Liquid IV is perfect for all summer adventures, and even as we go into fall here, it's still important to stay hydrated. It's packed with 8 essential vitamins and nutrients to keep you feeling your best. And if you want to try try it yourself, of course, there's a link in the description. There's tons of you who have already tried it and you love it. We hear about it in the comments every time we mention it. So if you've not tried it before, you need to, and you can get 20% off right now if you go use the link in the description. And you got to use this code right here, okay? So type in the code, use the link in the description, and you're going to get 20% off, and you're going to start living more, feeling hydrated. It's going to be great. Now, let's get back into the video. Here's what the radar could look like as we go forward. This is about noon Eastern today. You can see most of the activity is going to be over here associated with potential tropical cyclone 8, potentially tropical storm Helene. A lot of these storms that'll be moving onto shore are going to be packed with rainfall, causing that flooding in southern North Carolina. It's also around this time and on that we have to be concerned about these bands bringing about some more isolated cellular type convection, and that's what's going to potentially lead to our tornado problem down here. So watch out for that, especially about 4 p.m. Eastern and on. This is also when we're going to be looking at some bigger storms up here in the north central U.S. and also some big time storms over here in Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, the Four Corners down here. I think this is actually going to be where some of our more intense storms of the day happen. Now watch what happens as I push this forward. We've got two big swirling systems in the United States. Of course, we've got our tropical system in the east and then this huge trough over here in the west that's going to spark several problems as we go into the future. This is tomorrow now, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., around noon. We're going to see more storms over here associated with Helene. There's a slight chance that this will bring about some more lightning, some thunder, very small chance of a couple tornadoes, but we're going to be watching it. But the bigger threat, I think, for severe weather is going to be over here a little bit farther to the west. That severe weather threat gets a little bit more mature as we go into the evening. About 5 p.m. Eastern, I look to see some damaging wind reports all across the front range here as these storms are backed by a huge surge of cooler air coming in from the west. Just look at those two big swirls, man. You can tell we are really heading into fall as we get all of these big pushes of cool air coming down from Canada. We're going to have several instances of severe weather, I think, this fall as our fall tornado season looks to be pretty active. But yeah, the rain from Helene is just going to be hanging around for a while. It is going to bring some rain into West Virginia and Ohio, but it's not going to be anything close to what we get a little bit farther to the south. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be quite dry across the majority of the Midwest for the foreseeable future. And let's just go ahead and foresee a little bit of that future here on the Euro model. Wednesday, September 18th, another shot of severe weather possible as another system rockets up into Canada, bringing another burst of cool air into the plains, meeting up with the very large plume of warm air that's been building up here. That's going to happen a couple of times. Another potential severe weather system trying to show its face here in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, up into the UP of Michigan on Friday. Notice the lingering moisture from Helene is still going to be with us in the northeast all the way back on Saturday. So it's just going to be kind of cool and dreary for a lot of people that have to deal with Helene over the next several days. Nothing severe expected out of that. But speaking of severe, look at this. Another low pressure system has formed in the mountains of Colorado and is now rocketing over the plains, interacting with all of this warm air that's been building up, bringing about another severe weather threat. I think we're really going to see a period of pretty decently active severe weather over here in the plains as we go through the end of September. And then eventually this is going to lead to a big ridge and mostly zonal flow taking over, and we're probably going to experience another shot of quiet weather outside of any tropical activity before our next big trough comes in. And of course this is going to do some work to our temperatures as well. You can see Helene here bringing about the much cooler than average temperatures to the south and east. You can see that big trough with all the cool air really doing work in the west, and then all of the warm air in the middle. This is the mechanism for what's going to be driving our weather pattern for the next week or so. When that cool air starts to interact with the warm air in the middle, that's when we get our storms. And honestly, the cool air in the south and east is just going to be hanging around until that circulation gets out of here, or until we get a big enough cold front to actually sweep the system out of the way. And then once that happens, it's still going to be cooler than average until another ridge is allowed to form up, which is what I think happened happens after we get past September 20th. In the meantime, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook looks pretty familiar. Above average in the Great Lakes, all the way down to the south central U.S., near normal in the southeast because we're going to be dealing with Helene, and then a little bit below average in the west thanks to that big trough. So anytime you see a gradient of below average temperatures in the west, above average temperatures in the east, the area in between is where we've really got to be watching for potential storms and maybe even some tornado situations as we get into our fall season here. There is a 50-50 shot that we go live today, tomorrow, or Wednesday. A little bit less of a chance on Thursday. And this is all driven by the tropical system for the most part. The algorithm driving these probabilities looks at the Storm Prediction Center, severe weather probabilities, obviously. It looks at the National Hurricane Center forecast cone. If we have a Category 1 hurricane on our hands at any point, we're going to go live. So right now it looks like there's about a 50% chance of that. Also, if we have a more significant tornado threat, a 10% probability, for example, we would go live for that. So you can see we're kind of in the middle. There's a 50% probability of that happening. Therefore, there's a 50% probability that we're going to go live. Right now, I would say it's mostly unlikely, but we are certainly going to have lots of video updates here as things develop. So make sure you slap that subscribe button, turn notifications on just in case we do go live, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Ooh.